Hey guys. I'm like so tired right now. My eyes, I'm just so tired today. Alright. This one is on foraging. If you love the idea of getting something for nothing, foraging for wild edibles may be a good way for you to supplement your homegrown food, which we will be doing that too. Since most wild foods have such a short season, foraging is a fabulous way to stay in tune with the seasons and be more in touch with the natural world. Not to mention the exercise you'll get from all that walking. And foraging isn't just about picking berries and nibbling roadside weeds. It also includes fishing and hunting for game. There are a few caveats, however. Unlike eating vegetables from your garden, harvesting wild foods can be deadly if you're not fastidious about identifying the plants and mushrooms you've collected. I do have a plant identifier app on my phone, so I will be using that once we start doing that. Use a respected guidebook, take classes, and seek out an expert to give you a lesson on what's edible in your area. In short, do what you need to in order to become properly trained before you start picking. If you're interested in fishing and hunting, you'll need to check with your local branch of the Fish and Wildlife Service to find out what the regulations are, when the hunting and fishing seasons are, and what kind of permits you'll need. Clearly, these activities require more training and special equipment than foraging for blackberries does. Again, take the time for training. And I will do that. I'm going to go ahead and get the hunting license and the fishing license, even though you don't really need it on your own property, but I'm going to get them anyway. Cover all the bases. So
It's going all day long. What? What's wrong? Another nightmare.
okay. Sorry.
Ow.
Find a good guide. If you're interested in learning enough about plants to harvest some wild edibles, you will need a good field guide, preferably one that addresses the plants in your geographical area. Some guides have photographs, while others have drawings. Usually the drawings are in color. The quality varies rather dramatically from guide to guide. A book with clear photographs may be your best bet, especially if the photographs show the plant you're interested in at different stages of development, since a plant may look entirely different during each part of its cycle. A good drawing, however, is better than a poor photograph. That's creepy. You want to be able to see clearly. You want to be able to clearly see leaves, stems, stalks, and flowers. The guide should also provide information about habitat, look-alike plants, possible toxicity, and methods of harvesting. And the resources on page 340 have a list of recommended reading and websites. And I think I am going to do a video going over all that, and it's going to be kind of a tedious one, but or I might just make several videos out of it, so it's not so long. But it'll give you guys a reference to go to as well. So, alright, tools. Foraging requires very few tools. The few that are helpful are probably in your kitchen or garden shed. A trowel is useful for digging up roots. A jackknife or paring knife with a sheath is also necessary, as is a good pair of leatherwork gloves. You will need something in which to carry home your treasures. A basket or cloth bag is preferable to paper, which will fall apart when wet, or plastic, which will cause your tender greens to wilt. Harvesting. There are two big issues to keep in mind when harvesting wild foods. The first is toxicity. Mother Nature is not always benign. Just because a berry is blue doesn't mean it is a blueberry. It may be a pokeberry, which is fatal if ingested in large amounts by a child. Don't eat anything unless you are absolutely certain about its identity and edibility. Stick to the plants you know well and try to learn about one or two new species each year. Rely on your field guide in addition to the advice of an expert forager before you eat something new. Even knowing that a plant is generally edible doesn't ensure that it is edible at every stage or that every part is edible. Some plants are tasty and healthful only when cooked, and a few require several changes of water. This is where a good field guide and a knowledgeable mentor is essential. Mushrooms require special consideration, as the results of a mistake won't be just uncomfortable, they can be deadly. If you want to learn about mushrooms, join an established mushroom club and learn from experts. If you're interested in growing mushrooms, there are kits available that enable you to grow almost any variety you like, and that's probably what I'll do instead of trying to forage for them, because I don't want to get the deadly ones, obviously. The kits are fairly foolproof if you follow the directions carefully. Mushrooms can be grown in basement areas and are not good for growing anything else. If you come home with a bounty of greens, wash them well in clean water. Greens gathered near waterways can be infested with.
I dreamt of Brendan the whole time I was asleep.
Giardia, Giardia, a nasty intestinal parasite carried by beavers and other animals and passed into the water with their feces. Soil can carry a number of germs and bacteria, not just on tubers, but also on the leaves and stems of many plants. Fortunately, a good scrub with plenty of clean water will remove them. In general, avoid collecting plants from heavily trafficked areas along roadsides and other potentially polluted spots. The next issue in harvesting is protecting not you, but the plant. Don't harvest any plant on the rare or endangered list. If any plant is locally scarce, not necessarily endangered, but just not abundant where you live, take small amounts from as large a grouping as possible. Leave behind enough of the plant that it can reproduce. If you exercise common sense and take the time to learn about the foods in your area, foraging is a wonderful way to get closer to nature and understand more about our place in it. You probably won't ever need to rely on the woods, pastures, and streams to provide you with all you need for sustenance, but it's good to know where there is a ready supply free for the picking. Look for these favorite wild foods: apples, blackberries, blueberries, cattails. Cattails are also a wild food that every part of it can be used.
So all I wanted to do was sleep.
Wild cherries, crab apples, dandelions, daylilies, elderberries. Elderberries have to be cooked, processed.
To get back to the other world.
You know, like your own home way, but they have to be. You cannot eat wild, fresh elderberries. Fiddleheads, fox grapes, lamb's quarters. Those are great in salads. Lamb's quarter is basically wild spinach, and it's very healthy for you. Leeks, wild leeks, milkweed, nettles, stinging nettle, raspberries, rose hips, violets, and white pine for tea. Okay. Get permission first if you're considering venturing onto another person's land to forage. Be sure to contact the landowner and obtain the proper permission before starting. The same holds true for public places. Many national and state parks prohibit visitors from taking anything outside the boundaries of the park. Get permission before you harvest. About nettles. If you've ever come in contact with stinging nettles, you'll undoubtedly recall with dread the swift, nasty rash that they caused when they touch the skin. I accidentally touched those in Michigan. However, you might be very pleasantly surprised by how mellow and delicious nettles are when they are cooked. They lose their characteristic prickle and taste like a mild, tender spinach. Wearing long sleeves and rubber kitchen or gardening gloves, pick whole nettles when they are very young, or pick just small leaf tops of more mature plants. Using tongs, swish the nettles in a bowl of cool water, then drop them directly into a pot of boiling water. Do not touch the nettles or try to chop them or work with them until they are cooked. Okay. I think I might actually make a few videos out of these. Nah, I'll put it all on the one and I'll just add it to the title. All right, rose hip jam. Get your pen and paper, guys, because here's a nice recipe for you. Rose hip jam. 4 cups of rose hip pulp. 5 cups of sugar. Make sure it's raw cane sugar.
Whoa.
I didn't know.
And 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. Best if it's freshly squeezed.
Have done that to me.
Number 1. For the pulp, collect ripe rose hips, preferably just after the first frost. Wash and stem the hips. In a medium-sized saucepan, cover rose hips with water. Simmer until soft, about 15 minutes. Run the pulp through a food mill or sieve. Number 2. Combine the pulp, sugar, and lemon juice. Bring to a boil and reduce the heat. Simmer until the mixture reaches 220 degrees Fahrenheit. Ladle into hot jars. Number 3. Adjust the lids and process in a boiling water bath canner for 5 minutes. Yields 2 to 3 pints.
Those symbols.
And I'm definitely going to be trying that. So,
I've never seen them before, but they were specific.
all right, harvesting dandelions. Here we go, guys. It is likely that your neighbors will be delighted should you ask to collect dandelions from their lawns, providing their lawns haven't been sprayed. Be sure to gather from environmentally clean areas at least 50 feet away from busy roads and where no pesticides have been used. Roots will be easiest to harvest after a good rain or a few hours after the yard has been watered. If your neighbors don't live on a busy street and don't spray their lawns, ask permission to collect dandelions, then bring them some dandelion wine to show your gratitude. Should you live where dandelions simply don't grow, such as a high-rise apartment building, check your local supermarkets, farmers market, or health food store. Nowadays, many retail grocery stores carry dandelions in their produce departments. Leaves. Dandelion leaves are best collected in the spring before the plants flower. People who claim to dislike the taste of the greens have very likely collected the leaves after a plant has flowered. When the greens have turned bitter. If you wash the leaves before drying, be sure to dry them well to discourage mold. Cut the leaves at their base with a knife or snap them off with your fingers. After the plant is seeded, there will be new growth of leaves later in the summer, and these can also be collected. Avoid leaves that are yellow and wilted. Flowers. When collecting flowers, it is helpful to have small children with you. They'll love to help. Spread the blossoms on a large cloth to allow some of the insects to crawl and fly away before you bring them inside. For appearance and efficacy, use the flowers the same day that they have been collected. The roots. There's a wonderful tool called the Dandelion Digger available at gardening supply shops. We'll probably get one of those down at Tractor Supply. My messages. That you can use for digging the deep dandelion tap roots. To obtain large roots, gather plants that are at least 2 years old. The best roots will be found in unmowed patches of land and in soil that is rich and loose. Here, a root is likely to be single and juicy. In poorer soil, the root tends to be forked and tough. The plant is most effective in its fresh state. Roots from older plants will be leathery to eat, but can still be used for medicine and teas. The ideal times to collect roots are in early spring before the plants flower, and then again in fall after the first frost. Spring harvested roots are sweeter than those taken in the fall, as they are higher in fructose and less bitter and fibrous. But they must be collected before the flower buds are big, or all of their energy will go into producing the blossom, depleting the root. From September to February is also a good time to collect the roots, when the plants are highest in inulin, which imparts a sweet taste. Spring roots are higher in taraxacin, which stimulates bile production, and fructose, a simple sugar, than our fall roots. And this is what a dandelion digger looks like. I can even show you. There it is, right there. That's what a dandelion digger looks like, right there. Fall harvested roots are bitter and richer in inulin, which makes them more of a therapeutic medicine. This combination is partly because during the growing season, the fructose, also known as levulose, and the roots converts to inulin. The winter freeze then breaks down the inulin back to fructose, which sweetens the spring roots. Okay. One thing I forgot to read on the rose hips. In late fall, after the leaves have dropped, snip the partially dried orange-red rose hips from your rose bushes. Trim off and discard both ends. Cut the remainder into thin slices. Dry the slices according to your favorite method. Dehydrator. Spread slices thinly over trays and dry at 110 degrees Fahrenheit, stirring occasionally. Dry for 12 to 18 hours or until crisp and hard. Outdoors. Spread slices over trays in a thin layer and allow to dry in a well-ventilated, shady area for 2 to 3 days until crisp and hard. Take the trays inside at night. Oven or homemade dryer. Spread slices thinly over trays, dry at 110 degrees Fahrenheit, stirring occasionally until crisp, about 18 to 24 hours.
I was cutting myself in my sleep.
Rose hips are a good winter source of vitamin C. Rosehip tea benefits from the addition of other herbs such as lemon balm and mint. To make rosehip tea, cover 1/3 cup of dried rose hips with 1 quart of cold water. Remember to make sure your water is not tap water. Fill a good filtered water.
Quite unusual. That's not the
Cover and slowly bring to a boil. Simmer over low heat for 15 minutes. Strain the liquid, mashing the hips with a fork to extract all the vitamin-rich juice. Drink hot or cold with a spoonful of lemon juice and honey or sugar. Make sure your sugar is not refined white sugar. I don't think it is. Okay, dandelion coffee. One popular beverage is a dandelion coffee made from the dried and roasted roots. And I do plan on trying this, you guys. And when I make it, I will show you guys. I'll do a video and definitely show you guys. So, can't wait for that. There's going to end up being a lot of videos once we even get the camper trailer out there, because I'm going to be, starting to make some of that homemade stuff
The symbols were some of the
in the camper trailer,
symbols known to me.
just so we can start getting that good, vitamin-rich food into us, because we really need that. This drink tastes rich and earthy, similar to coffee, but without the caffeine. It is not addictive and much kinder to the stomach. Dandelion roots tend to be more bitter in summer and fall and sweeter in the spring. To prepare the roots, dig the roots. 20 should give you enough for a small supply. In the fall, and wash well, using a vegetable brush to scrub them. Slice the roots lengthwise and allow them to dry in a warm place for 2 weeks. To roast the roots. When dry, roast them for 4 hours in an oven heated to 200 degrees Fahrenheit. An alternative is to roast the dried sliced roots in a cast iron skillet, stirring constantly until they are dark brown. Cool completely before storing in a glass jar. Roasting dandelion roots releases aromatic compounds and converts the starch inulin to fructose, sweetening your taste. To brew.
Drive you to hurt yourself. Brendan had a drug problem when he was a teenager.
Simmer 1 heaping teaspoon of the root in 1 cup of water, covered for 10 minutes, then strain. The resulting dark, rich beverage will help you feel warmer. If you want, you can also use the roasted roots as a coffee substitute by percolating or using the drip method. To enjoy, you can drink this as you would coffee with cream and sugar or with honey and milk. Dandelion wine. Dandelion wine, believed to be of the Celtic origin, is regarded as one of the fine country wines of Europe. In the late 1800s and early 1900s, it was not proper for ladies to drink alcohol. However, dandelion flower wine was considered so therapeutic to the kidneys and digestive system that it was deemed medicinal even for the ladies. 3 quarts of dandelion blossoms, 1 gallon of water, 2 oranges with the peel, 1 lemon with the peel, 3 pounds of sugar. Make sure it's raw cane sugar. Do not use refined white sugar. I cannot stress that enough. 1 ounce of fresh yeast, which would be even better instead of processed. And it's not, I'll have to do a pin on, get one of my pins on that and do a video on making your own yeast. Or 3 packets of instant yeast. 1 pound of raisins. Number 1, collect the blossoms when they are fully open on a sunny day. Remove any green parts. They will impair the fermentation. Number 2, in a large pot, bring the water to a boil and pour it over the flowers. Cover and let steep for 3 days. 3, peel and juice the oranges and the lemon. Save the peels and reserve the liquid. Number 4, add the orange and lemon peel to the flower water mixture and bring to a boil. Remove from heat. Strain out the solids and then add the sugar, stirring until it is dissolved. Allow it to cool. Number 5, add the orange and lemon juice, yeast, and raisins to the liquid. Put everything into a crock with a loose lid so gas can escape to ferment. Number 6, when the mixture has stopped bubbling 2 days to a week, fermentation is complete. Strain the liquid through several layers of cheesecloth and transfer to sterilized bottles. Slip a deflated balloon over the top of each bottle to monitor for further fermentation. When the balloon remains deflated for 24 hours, fermentation is complete. That's actually a good thing to know, especially if you're like doing a lot of homemade wines and stuff like that. Cork the bottles and store in a cool, dark place for at least 6 months before drinking. Okay, flower fritters. And I've heard Doug and Stacy talking about that talking about those on their channel. Although daylilies aren't strictly wild plants, so many have escaped from gardens that they abound in fields and on roadsides, so they are fun to forage. Basil flower stalks, small clusters of sage leaves, and nasturtium blossoms may also be prepared this way. That's actually good to know. Basil flower stalks, small clusters of sage leaves, and nasturtium blossoms. 2/3 cup of flour, and now your own homegrown and home ground flour would be absolutely best. 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Redmond's real salt would be the best, or more. 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder. Your homemade garlic powder would be the absolute best. 1/4 teaspoon of freshly ground black pepper. A pinch of cayenne pepper, optional. 1 egg yolk for fresh eggs. 1/3 to 1/2 cup of beer. Ooh, I don't know if I would do that. And I would not use vegetable oil. I would use good organic, extra virgin, non-refined coconut oil. 12 daylily flowers, or nasturtiums. Yeah. Number 1, line a plate with several paper towels in a small bowl. Combine the flour, salt, garlic powder, black pepper, and cayenne. Add the egg yolk. Mix until well blended. Add the beer a little at a time, whisking constantly until the mixture is the consistency of a thick pancake batter. Heat about 2 inches of oil in a deep skillet. Drop a little batter into the oil. When the batter starts to brown, reduce the heat to medium. Pick up a daylily by the stalk and swish it in the batter to coat the whole flower, except the part you're holding. Place the batter-covered stalks in the hot oil a few at a time. Fry until brown on both sides, turning once. Transfer the fritters onto the paper towel-lined plate. Serve immediately. And mix 12 fritters. Okay. Definitely recommend coconut oil, because you do not want to use any kind of vegetable oil whatsoever. Alright, fiddleheads. If you know where to find them, fiddleheads are best picked fresh. Increasingly, though, they are available in specialty markets and at farm stands. Looking like fuzzy green spirals, they are the tightly furled fronds of the ostrich fern. They have a flavor reminiscent of asparagus. Preparing fiddleheads takes a little care. Soak them in water for a few minutes, then ruffle the curled ferns with your fingers to release as much of the fuzzy brown coating as possible. It will come off in small particles and should be skimmed off the water and discarded. Blanch the cleaned fiddleheads for 2 minutes in boiling water. Immediately refresh them under cool water, then drain thoroughly. Place the fiddleheads in a fresh pot of boiling water for 2 more minutes and then drain. Boiling the fiddleheads in 2 changes of water is thought to remove a certain heat labile toxin that can make some people sick. Blanched fiddleheads are delicious when sautéed with butter and garlic, cooked in an omelet, or added to pasta or soup. They may also be served with a light cream or cheese sauce. Okay, and that was it for the foraging. So I'll go ahead and I will get this up there, and I will see you guys in a bit on the next one, which is the last little bit of this book, Making Maple Syrup. I will see you guys in a minute.
No airflow.
Bye, guys. Remember to like and share the videos. And if you're new to the channel, go to our live tab and click on Faith versus Going Live. And in that video, I explain, what got us into homesteading and what brought us down here to Oklahoma from Michigan. Because we've been down here for a little over a year and a half, and we have 12.53 acres down here in Oklahoma. We're not on the property yet. We will be within a couple of months, I'm sure. Anyway, but go ahead and go through our videos, watch our videos, like and share the videos, share them on all your platforms, recommend the videos, and leave comments. I really want to get to know my subscribers. I will converse back and forth with you guys. I check my YouTube all the time to see if anybody has commented and everything. So go ahead and please leave comments, and I will get back with you for sure. I will see you guys in a few minutes. Bye, guys.